The lawyers who battled for the squatter Donald Trump in the days after the 2020 election are now fighting to salvage their professional careers. And it's a fight that they pretty much invited by openly flouting his lies and many of the core ethical precepts to which licensed attorneys are bound to. Um, Last November, they were warned that this could happen. Today, they face punishing financial and professional consequences, including the potential loss of ever practicing law again. And this is exactly what should fucking happen to them. On Wednesday, a 110-page opinion that would likely serve as a required reading in the future law school if you ever take law school classes, like the ethics ones. U.S. District Court Judge Linda Parker delivered her comprehensive sanctions ruling against Sidney Powell and her merry band of Kraken lawyers. The ruling addressed in clear terms the difference between cable news, lawyering, and the actual practicing of law. And while there are many arenas, including print, television, and social media, where protestinations, conjecture, and speculation may be advanced, and Parker wrote, such expressions are neither permitted nor welcomed in the court of law. But her ruling outlined how Powell's team had relied upon affidavits that were riddled with baseless speculation and accusations contradicted by existing public evidence to advance their claims seeking extraordinary relief that would have effectively mollified the votes of millions of Americans in Michigan. As Parker had wrote, this case was never about fraud. It was about undermining the people's faith in our democracy and debasing the judicial process to do so. The election was not stolen. There was no widespread fraud. You do not have to take our words for it, but look at the countless lawsuits littering dockets across the nation that were brought on by Trump and his sycophants. They all failed in the end. Taxpayers were required to foot the bill for multiple recounts, and still the election results stood, including in those done by the Republican state election officials, and notwithstanding the last-ditch attempt on January 6th to hold on to his seat and the Oval Office, an effort that truly tested the mettle of our democracy on January 20th, 2021, Trump was no longer squatter of the United States. Trump himself has yet to suffer any legal consequences, but this is not entirely unusual for him because he gets away with everything. It was Michael Cohen, not Trump, who got into trouble for the Stormy Daniels payoff. Trump does not do his own dirty work. He outsources it, usually to his lawyers. Trump is also not bound by any ethical obligations or requirements, but he can espouse whatever comes to his mind and push for it however far he fucking wants to. But Trump's ability to evade liability for now does not extend to his lawyers, particularly in this court of law. For example, Rudy Giuliani, once known as America's mayor, has had his law license suspended in New York and the Washington, D.C. Directly as a result of his role in pushing Trump's false election fraud claims in the courtroom. Likewise, Judge Parker's opinion is clear, an unequivocal rejection of that method by which Powell and her legal team pursued litigation in Michigan. On cable news and social media, you might get away with extreme exaggeration and hyperbole to claim that you have definitive proof of fraud, though as evidenced by Parker's opinion, what a lawyer tweets can come back to haunt them at a sanctions hearing. In a courtroom, lawyers are ethically bound to do more than dump a far-fetched legal theory on the judge's lap simply because it fits their or their client's political narrative. You cannot file affidavits that contain materially false information or that rely upon mere internet hearsay as a factual counter to the published data on issues such as voter turnout. You also cannot claim ignorance when signing election fraud complaints that are supported by affidavits of which even a rudimentary review would have told you that no lawyers were in fact violated. Lawyers are given significant leeway and discretion in when and how they bring their lawsuits, but they are expected and indeed required to do so with basic due diligence prior to filing a complaint, such as reading the complaint before signing it, verifying the actual allegations in the supporting affidavits, or identifying whether any applicable laws might have actually been violated. Parker's ruling outlines how Powell and members of her team failed to do these things, and instead they exploited the imprimatur of legitimacy afforded to them as officers of the court to broadcast a reckless political fantasy that arguably contributed to the events of January 6th, and those lawyers now must pay significant legal bills as a form of restitution. The complete legal education restraining, and perhaps most important, they face potential disbarment by the states in which they are licensed to practice. That's the cost of masquerading conspiracy theories as serious legal claims, and that is as it should be. And it has been made clear since last fucking November that the courthouses and the fundamental rules of procedure upholding the marbled corridors can form the final line of defense between our hollow democratic ideals and those who would see them destroyed in favor of one of the most dangerous attempts at a power grab in this nation's fucking history. So if you like the video, give the video a like and subscribe to my channel, RBW King, and also hit the notification bell so that you'll be notified when a new video comes out, and thanks for listening.